podcast or my vlog, Neuroscience for Success. And I am so thrilled to be doing this once again with you and for you. I have a new co-host, and I'm absolutely delighted to introduce him to you today. And we are going to be having a lot of fun with this because just in the last 5 minutes of even setting up the technology, we've been hysterically laughing. So very excited to work with Richard. And why don't you say hi, Richard Daniel Curtis from Southampton, the United Kingdom, and tell us a little bit about you.
Hello. Well, fantastic, I have to say, absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much for that introduction. For those guys who haven't heard of me, I'm a behaviour expert. I'm very much based in Britain. I'm very English, I'm afraid to say, or very proud to say, I should say. And my passion is all about helping people to understand behaviour, whether it's understanding psychology, whether it's understanding neuroscience, whether it's understanding what's happening inside your body, doesn't make any difference to me. It's all about helping people to understand behaviour. I'm known as the kid comer. I've done a lot of work with children, and certainly over the years, they say that I've influenced somewhere over 500,000 children's lives in the work that I've done. I've written, Deborah will tell you, I've written loads of books and probably spent far too much
time. I aspire to write as many books as you.
Far too much time writing in front of a computer when actually sometimes I just think you should be out there living life. But there's so many things in my brain that I just want to share with everyone.
I can completely relate to that. And it's interesting because I have sort of like this tug of war inside me every time I'm in front of my computer, whether I'm writing or doing something like this, and I'm looking outside and I'm hearing the birds chirp, especially because it's spring. I just want to like ditch it all and get outside. But, and we will at some point, we'll do these from the park. And when I get across the pond this summer, we'll do some stuff live. And so, I mean, it's endless what we can do, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, today over here in the UK was obviously the end of the day here. I know it's the morning over there. Absolutely gorgeous day. So I left the office early, came home, and I spent sort of a good hour and a half with our baby son, just enjoying just being in the moment, because I knew that later on, in the evening, I'd be here online with you. So actually, just taking the time out, when you can. That's the advantage, I think, of working for yourself, is that you can take the time to prioritize those things.
Absolutely. And so I think that's a great segue. This new series is called Journey of the Mastery of Your Mind. And I did talk about it on some previous episodes of my podcast. I just wasn't the right time for me to get it off the ground. But now this is the right time, and this is the right co-host to do this with. And how this came to pass is Richard and I were doing a Skype meeting, not even a few days ago, right? Within the last week. And
4 days ago at most.
Yeah, and we were sharing things as colleagues do, as peers do, and we both went, oh my God, that would make an amazing vlog. We just have to do this. And I'm like, well, interesting that you should say that, because I've just kind of put it out to the universe that I was looking for a new co-host, and I had just let it go. Okay, I need a new co-host, and I'm not moving forward on this podcast until that right person shows up. And so here we are. So let me tell you a little bit about the journey of the mastery of your mind. And that comes from the premise that no matter what you're doing, whether it's running your company or parenting children or, in your marriage, your relationship, like your colleagues at the water cooler at the office, whatever it is, the bottom line is this is all about you. And so who anybody has come into your life and said, it ain't about you, they don't know what they're talking about, because it's always about you.
Oh, absolutely. I so agree with you.
It's
I'm
about you.
absolutely. It's. I mean, it's something that Deborah, you know, that I'm so passionate about, because actually, the book that I'm writing at the moment, it is the I method, because it's always comes back to us. It always comes back to our experience of being in that moment. Is what influences our perception of other people and influences the world around us.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I had a really huge epiphany on this about like 10, 12 years ago when my brother-in-law passed. And I went home and, everyone was at my sister's house and friends and family and, everybody's in mourning. And I can't remember exactly how the conversation got going, but there was a point made where this isn't about us. This is about, his name was Ralph. This is about Ralph. And I went, no, it's not. Ralph's exited. This is about us. So whatever, is being triggered within each one of us and how we're managing that in a group dynamic and how we're managing it individually is all about me. And so where I want to take this podcast, if I could just set an intention, is where I want to take this podcast is that through my journey, through your journey, Richard, through how we interact with each other and bounce back and forth ideas and tools and concepts, and to be able to do that for the listeners, because I think probably the biggest misconception is that a coach or a trainer is perfect and that you don't have any challenges in your life and your life all looks good. Oh, well, you're the coach, you're the one that knows everything, so therefore everything has to be good for you. And it's like, hell no, it couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, I think we probably go through more deep life experiences as coaches and trainers, because then we have to be able to come from that place of living that experience and getting to the other side of it. Definitely. And all of the journey in between and how that expands our consciousness, that we want to bring to the table for you. And that's the whole point to this.
Absolutely. And I one of the things that I do is a lot of talking and training about mentoring. In fact, actually, my company is the mentoring school, and in order to be a mentor, it's you need to be someone who's experienced in that journey, who has previously overcome those difficulties or experienced those difficulties. Because actually, the big thing is, and this is a huge difference between coaching and mentoring, is that actually with a mentor, it's all about you've experienced that. You're using your experience, you're using your guiding hand to support someone, to advise someone through that process, so that actually they can learn from your wisdom, they can learn from the things that have happened in your life, and actually just make that difference for them.
Well, okay, so I know many times it's probably going to be just a play on words or semantics, but because we're at the end of the day, we're both saying the same thing. But don't you think that, like, at least from my perspective, being a coach, I consider myself a coach more than a mentor because I charge for my services. That's kind of my demarcation line. And so the way I would differentiate it is the difference between therapy and coaching is, in therapy, it's theoretical. In coaching, the coach, well, if you've hired the right coach for you, the coach has been there, done that.
Yeah.
Right, and they're drawing from their experiences.
As a coach, where are you trying to get people to?
To their own consciousness. At least for me as a coach, it's to have my clients come into alignment with their own higher self, where the ego comes into alignment with the higher self, or the conscious mind comes into alignment with the unconscious mind and the superconscious. That it's like the word I use all the time is it's an alignment. The rest of the stuff is just detail. It's just experiences. It's the and sometimes the English language just lacks the words to express what's running through me. But and I get these downloads of like multiple streams of things to say, and I can't always get them all out at once.
So you're very involved with preparing people for what's coming up for them, for getting them ready for the future.
I'm very involved in their process of alignment with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a tendency to avoid making it about their circumstances, or making it about their physical, like environmental experiences, although those are the expression of what's going on in terms of their consciousness. I work with companies. I help companies scale up, and I do it from a very different place. So most consultants or coaches go in and it's like, all right, let's lay out the spreadsheets and let's get out the strategic plan, and like, let's do all the left brain stuff that has you completely disconnected from your higher self. And I do it the other way, where I go in and go, okay, let's look at the results you're getting. Let's look at where you want to go. What's the gap that's in between? And what do we need to do around your consciousness? Because our consciousness, who we are being with ourselves, is what creates all of the experiences that we have in our lives. And so if this is what's going on in a company, then that tells me all about the consciousness of the leadership of the organization. So I start with them there.
So where the difference is very much. So where the difference is very much between us, because I mean, as a mentor, I charge people for my services, for my time. That's one of the things that I do as well, and so I don't see that as a demarcation. Where actually I see the demarcation is that I spend a lot more time focusing on where they are now. How are you feeling now? What's happening in your head now? Whereas what you're describing is helping people to understand where their head needs to be in order to achieve what they want to achieve.
That is so cool. That's so cool. And sorry to cut you off. Finish your thought. Sorry,
so that really does feel like difference between what we're talking about is I'm dealing with the now, you're dealing with the future.
Yeah, well, yes, because the way I look at, so let me just like pause that thought for a moment and just kind of back up, because this conversation reminds me so much of my early days when I went through my neuro-linguistic programming certification, and got to understand like where does what's the background behind the NLP toolbox, and it was a combination of Milton Erickson and Virginia Satir. And so Virginia Satir is famous for the family therapy model and bringing that into the therapeutic world. And so both of them were absolutely successful in their own right, and both of them had completely different approaches to therapy, where Milton Erickson's claim to fame was to get the client to chunk up the problem in bigger, like more meta, like more macrocosm concepts, to the point where the problem just popped and disappeared. Virginia Satir got the client to chunk down the problem into more and more specificity till finally the problem just disappeared. It lost its charge. And that's kind of what you and I are saying. So you're focusing on the now, and I'm not focusing on where they want to be. And the reason I do that, and both are right, both like Milton Erickson and Virginia Satir were very, very successful, got amazing results with their clients, and people came from all over the world to see them because of the phenomenal results that they got. And so, and the same is for you and I, like your focus on the now gets incredible results with your clients. And my focus on where they want to be and then reverse engineering it back to now gets incredible results. And so this is a beautiful point to make, is that we're moving so quickly out of the black-white thinking into more gray, like malleability, like the potential is everywhere. And when you get out of that strict either or, this or that, black or white, can only be this way or that way, when you get out of that mentality, it's like,
Absolutely.
the sky's open, right?
Absolutely. Too right. Too right. Now,
Yeah.
I've just noticed, I've just looked down, I have just noticed the time, and I know that we were both very keen to make these about 15 minutes long, and we have just reached the 15-minute mark.
Are we there already?
Yeah.
All right, I got it. So this is a really good introduction, and I just, if I can just say, like one last comment on that, and that is that just the words, you know, there's, and you and I are going to talk about this a lot, and I know that the power of the words, like your reality is created in the words that you think and use. And so with that said, without going into that deeply, I just want to play on that in terms of the title of this series, The Journey, not end goal, okay? The journey, right? Of the mastery, not master, mastery of your mind. And so that's what we're doing. We're taking you on a journey of the mastery of your mind. And for this embodiment, you know, for Richard, you looking like Richard, and Deborah, me looking like Deborah, we will evolve our consciousness, and then maybe we'll come back in another embodiment and have a different dialogue down the road. But this is what it is for now. It's a journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. I hope you all love this. Please, thank you so much for liking and sharing and subscribing to this podcast, and we're getting it out to your tribe and bringing it out to the world, because I can imagine back before I understood this information, how I used to struggle and how I used to say to myself, like, why can't I get things to change? Or why are things the way they are? Or like, I just don't know what to do to make it better. And so if there's one little thing that you and I discussed that shifts someone in their life, then
we've done it.
We've done it. Yeah, high five.
Yeah.
So thank
Excellent.
you. Anything you want to say before we sign off?
No, I want to say thank you very much, and we will see you very soon.
Yes, we will. Have a blessed day, everyone. Take care.